right. We should be live now. Just confirm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
looks like it.
Alrighty. Hello, everybody, and sorry for the couple minutes of delay today. Had some last-minute troubleshooting, but we're here now, and we are happy to join you all with our new release. I'm here with Peter. Peter, you want to say hello?
Hello, everybody. Happy to be here.
Yeah, so today we released a new Virtual Drummer Legend, and we're very excited about this product and the vision that we set forth in the product and fulfilled successfully from our perspective. And we're excited to show you what it sounds like, what it can do, and then also as always, we'll raffle off a free copy to people who are active in the chat. Oh, by the way, Peter, I'm not sure if you're able to, but if you can monitor the chat, I can't see it. So if anyone asks good questions, maybe it would be worth bringing them up if you can see them.
I'm looking at the chat.
Okay, perfect.
I'll do my best.
yeah, no worries. But yeah, Peter, do you want to give like a one or two liner about what the vision of this product was, what it is, before we hear it, so that people can understand what to expect?
Yeah. So this virtual drummer has been in our heads as an idea for almost 10 years. It's the drum sound from a time when probably in all of UJAM only I was around, like the 70s. And it's this very typical this very typical dry drum sound that sounds very played. The sound that vanished in the 80s when drum machines came up, and when everybody wanted to not sound like that, everybody wanted to sound very artificial and programmed, and this is exactly the opposite of that. So the vision behind this drummer was to have really dry drums, not for recreating the 70s, but because dry drums these days, with the new processors that you have, with all the digital processing that everybody has on their computer, dry drums are amazing for shaping your own drum sound as opposed to pre-processed drums. So that was pretty much the vision in a nutshell.
Yeah, and then that last piece you said is what really drove the product home for me. Like you said, I've never been around for this era in music. I know what it sounds like from the famous records, but as someone who produces modern music, you could really see how the dry sound is such a clean canvas, so you can put whatever like if I wanted lo-fi drums, there's nothing easier than starting with a clean drum and knowing what I want to do to it, or a super processed drum, and so on. So yeah, real quick, let's just play some itself. I think you'll know exactly the type of sound that we mean. So I'll just step through a couple intro presets at first. And if you're not familiar with Virtual Drummer, on the right-hand keyboard up here, I'm playing MIDI notes that control MIDI phrases. So all I have to do is press one note, and you'll hear the fully programmed phrase. So right off the bat, you hear a bunch of really, really clean sounds, and you get different glimpses of how those could be processed. There were a couple of presets that felt more vintage and retro, and there were some that were just very clean and snappy. That's really the highlight of the product, I would say. But so presets are capturing everything, so you get different drum kits, different mix presets, reverbs, yada yada. But I think it's cool for us to look at the exact drum kits that are at the root of the sound. So in making virtual drummers, we always record 5 different drum kits. So all the different drums are selected and mic'd differently to accomplish a certain aesthetic. And so the heart of the instrument is the 5 separate drum kits. And so if I just turn off the effects and we step through those, it might be cool to hear the root sounds that you're getting in the instrument. So I will do that right now. So we've got this first kit called Grand. And then there's this tight kit. wild. Thick. And loose. And so within those kits, you can swap out any of the sounds. If you like the snare in the wild kit, but everything else in the grand kit, you could do that accordingly. But yeah, so that's a quick sonic intro. As always, there's a bunch of different preset categories. So we have them organized by application: dead and dry, vintage and worn, modern and processed. So really highlighting what this drummer is good at, I think. And then the mix presets are kind of the accentuating factor there. But Peter, I wanted to bring the conversation to you again because I know you had such a strong vision for this the whole time. And I wanted to know, I think there was one point in development where you revisited where we were with the product after you had been away or whatever. And I think you were very satisfied with what was achieved in the studio. And I wanted to just kind of relive that and have you recount what that felt like. To hit the nail on the head with it, you know.
Yeah, I can totally elaborate on that. So for me, it was super important. I mean, when you do dry drums, you cannot do just any drums. It's super important which drums you pick, which drum kit you pick, how you mic it. It's even important how you hit the drums because the way drummers played those drum kits in the 70s was very different to how they get played and even tuned and everything today. And the team we had on this drummer, we used a team of a producer, a drummer, a sound engineer. You could clearly hear that these guys had the passion for this kind of stuff, and that always comes through. And it was not just a job for them. And I remember, when I came back, I was on vacation for 3 weeks, as you do in Germany. And when I came back, the product had made such a leap. And it was just, I pulled it up. I remember seeing the logo and the shirt for the first time, which totally conveyed the vibe to me. And then just hitting the first bunch of drums and the first bunch of phrases just blew me away.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. As this was developing, I could fully agree that it was hitting the nail on the head in terms of the sound that we initially set out for. But having that feedback come from someone who lived it, you know, that time period and that kind of music, like approving that this is actually pretty accurate and pretty usable is really cool. But yeah, so people who have experience with our Virtual Drummer series, you might know that they're similar approaches where you get 5 unique kits, 6 unique mix presets on the right, but then there's always this special fader here in the middle, which is a totally different thing depending on the title and the approach of the product. And so in Legend, because the focus is on this old, nostalgic, dry, clean, retro sound, we actually took an approach to the miking of the recording. So this fader actually controls different miking techniques, where if you dial it up to the top, you're getting more of this. I forget how Derek explained it. Maybe you would remember, Peter, or know of that era, but it's something to do with the microphone being more central, positioned over the drum heads versus proximity, I guess. I don't remember because I wasn't in that era in a studio recording drums, but it's basically a control that is crossfading between totally different recordings, and it's actually giving you sweet spots between them along the way. So when you dial it up, it does feel. I could just play a little and let you guys hear that.
Yeah.
Let me pick a. Let me turn off the mix preset so it's a little more audible there. So the thing that I mostly noticed when this was first implemented is that at the bottom, with what would be considered modern miking techniques, you have a much fuller low end and like bass frequency. So in the kick drum, you're getting that boom that you would want in like modern produced music. But when you go up to this like older style of recording, it feels more worn in. Things feel a tiny bit like junkier and looser, which is a really, really cool flavor to add to the drums for this kind of product. Let's go through some other kits here with that same control. So there's one other control on this topic that I want to mention because it's kind of related and interesting in a unique, similar way. The color control down in the master section. So also in the virtual drummers, these controls are different. Sometimes they're grit, sometimes they're saturation, depending on the title again. So in this one, coloring also controls the miking. So a lot of recording was done in producing this title. So lots of different signals and doing them in iterations for every microphone change. And so what the color knob does is it actually changes between darker and brighter sounding microphones. So on the dust control, you have a style of positioning of microphones. And then on the color control, you have this darkness versus brightness characteristic of the microphones, which kind of feeds off of that.
Yeah, Adam, you could do one thing. You could, to get the real dry sound, because I think this preset just picked
I could have
a lot of overheads and room. You could just dial down all the overheads and room, and then you really, really hear.
True, good point. Yeah, because I loaded a random preset there. So let's pull down some of these sounds.
You could pull it all the way down, then you can really hear how dry it is.
Yeah, that's a good point. So here, let me neutralize the color setting there.
Yeah.
So I'll just manually cue these drums on the left side with the one shots. So again, brighter and kind of looser feeling on the upper end there. And much darker, cooler, and almost punchier on the low end.
Snappier, a little snappier.
Yeah, like got more body. And so those two controls really allow you to control kind of like the era or vibe that you're going for of the drums, which is really cool in this title. Yeah, because they sound totally different. Whoops, I'm sorry. But the mix presets, there's 6 of them. They all do different things. And so the dry one is kind of, let's just play them because I think you'll just hear. Let me pick another style here.
That's a good one.
The tom drum one?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that.
I think so.
So here's dry. So this one is going to make things a little drier. Dry and tight.
Yeah, it brings out particularly the stick sound super dry.
Yeah, totally. And then I remember trying to find a more snare heavy style just because.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. That's a good example. So it feels super dry, like bone dry almost, and tight.
And now you could bring the overheads back up a little bit.
True. Yeah.
All the cymbal stuff is
turned
really
off. Actually, in this preset, the cymbals are off. So I'm going to turn those on a little. Let me just go back to the first intro preset because it's a good starting point. Yeah. Okay. There we go. So yeah, that was dry. Let's hear it again now on this preset. You can really hear that now. So yeah, dry makes everything really tight, snappy, and dry. Slam is a slightly more modern and aggressive processing. I will play an example there. So you get this big kind of squashing effect. Cymbals are coming up, everything around the drum kit is coming up, and it's a little more aggressive. It's got its applications for sure.
Yeah, what it does is it boosts the high range, and it's a little, for lack of a better term, it's not more wet, but it's a little bit more juicy.
Yeah, it totally feels that way. Yeah, I mean you could hear.
Yeah.
Even in the low end, like it's really just a boost. Like everything feels like it's a little bit more intriguing and powerful. And then Warren here.
It's like an exciter, if you will.
Yeah,
a little bit like an exciter.
Yeah, sure. And then you move on to Warren, and this is definitely more of a vintage approach. So you'll hear exactly what I mean. So at the top there, it totally sounds like a dead radio speaker or something.
It totally sounds like the 60s to me.
Yeah.
It's like, the sound that I heard on the kitchen radio in the morning when my mother made breakfast.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're losing
I'm that
fidelity.
old.
You're losing fidelity in the high end. The cymbals are just getting
Yeah.
shelved off. Same with the lows too. You know, it's kind of. But
Yeah.
under the hood, more than that is happening in these mix presets. Our sound designer has a very clear vision of what to accomplish, and it's not done so easily with just a single filter. So, but luckily that work is done for you, and that's the point of what we do in these products. But yeah, moving on to hi-fi. This one's really interesting because it's almost like the opposite approach of that last one. It's like super bright and crispy. I'm gonna switch kits again quick. Yeah, it just sounds so hi-fi. That one is actually amazing. And then tape, this last one here. So it's kind of like tape distortion vibe, tape emulation, like juiciness coming through. Very powerful.
Yeah, it's like overdriving a real tape machine is what you did there.
Yeah.
You know, in rock specifically.
Yeah, it's super cool. Have there been any questions? I wanted to throw out again that if you ask questions and are active in the chat, you will be raffled to win a free copy of Legend at the end of the stream. So yeah, if there have been
there was one question that I already answered. Like, can we get our own channels for each snare or kick or hats? Which you get with every virtual drummer when you set it to multi-out. Then the dry direct outputs will be routed to an extra channel, and you can actually switch that, as Adam is showing it right now, for every individual instrument. So you can it's something that I do very often. I just route the snare and maybe the cymbals to a different channel, but leave everything in the go through the mix preset in the virtual drummer.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you select the channel you want, and then rather than sending it to the master bus, you'll say individual, and it will bypass that master bus and instead send it to another channel for you to select in your DAW.
And then someone asked, is it possible to go through presets without pushing the keys? Like probably just, letting it run in latch mode and switch the preset. That's totally possible.
Yeah, let's actually do that. We could just visit some new presets. Yeah, so in our
I think that's what Kenneth was asking for.
We always have a latch button for that exact reason. So up here, if I activate latch, I could, all it takes is one press at the beginning, and then it'll latch onto that note, and I don't have to keep holding it or whatever. So with a phrase player, I could just select a key, and then we could step through presets. And again, you're noticing the drum grooves are changing too, and that's because presets capture the styles. So if you're not familiar with our products, styles are basically the MIDI. It's basically the song that's being played, and every style comes with all different phrases for verses and choruses. So when you're changing through presets, you're picking the kit, the flavor, the dust control, all of the levels, the reverb, basically all of the settings, including
everything
style.
on the UI.
Yeah, everything on the UI, except for what is it in this product? I think some of the micro timing controls do not get saved.
Maybe player sync doesn't get changed. You don't want to change swing. That's annoying.
Yeah.
But everything that makes sense and everything you see on the UI gets changed.
Yeah, so presets are really global. You can expect everything to change, including the drum part, and that's why they're so interesting to step through for inspiration. So we'll keep going through a couple. I'm in the dead and dry folder. We'll listen to a few more, then we'll jump to the next folder just so you can hear some more. So let's jump through vintage folder. That one sounded overkill because it's a slower style, so it's like super intense.
It's probably you probably have able set to 120 or so,
The
and
default,
then it's complete overkill.
Yeah, so there's a recommended
physically
tempo.
Impossible.
There's always a recommended tempo for styles. So if I go down to 82, you'll hear the true nature of this groove.
Yeah.
Much more appropriate.
And
yeah, go ahead.
That's Rosanna by Toto. Somebody actually put that in there.
And then let's see, we got modern processed stuff, a little thicker and fatter and more aggressive, and generally just more processed. That's actually a super weird one, but I love it.
That's so undry.
I don't know if I heard this one. This one's great. Super fat. And so now again, I'm in the slower tempo region, and some of these are a little quicker. So, which they work at any tempo. It's just there's a if they're designed around 140, then they might sound totally different at 80. So it's just something to consider. But sometimes that's the inspiration you're looking for anyway.
Yeah, Adam, if you allow me, I would quickly catch up with some of the things that were happening in the chat. First of all, our own Lars Zberg made a great comment for people as old as I am. I don't know. I thought Lars is a young guy. You want to make fun of Gino Vanelli with this plugin, which is completely cracking me up because that was one of my heroes, and he has people like Vinny Colaiuta playing with him, and so it's like you almost have the feeling the drummer gets paid by note. And those of you in the chat who don't know who Lars is, check out our demos. Usually he does always some of the best ones. Then somebody asks, like, any plans in the future to allow host automation of the styles? Yeah, the whole UJAM team is with you here. I'm pretty sure we want it. If we don't do it right away, there's usually a technical engine reason, but I'm pretty sure with the next update of the series or so, we're going to have that. Somebody asks, is there a way to mono the kick? Yeah, just use it in a different, like break it out in a multi-out scenario. And that's possible. And then, without overheads and room in there. Mm-hmm. What else did I want to...
Yeah, that is actually an interesting point, just talking about general mix down of the kits. That is something we've handled for you. So if you disagree or have specific needs outside of the way the kits are mixed or panned or whatever, then yeah, exactly. That's when you would want to take control. Individual out is really like, I want control over this to do what I need because the source sounds are that good,
Yeah, and there's another question, is there individual drum cymbal panning inside the plugin? No, it's not inside the plugin. The panning inside the plugin is as the kit was set up and mic'd. But again, if you use multi-out, the world's your oyster. You can do what you want.
Yeah, and that's what I meant. Yeah, all those decisions are kind of made by professionals for the given approaches. So they're really capturing exactly what we wanted to capture, and they're exactly useful for that kind of music and style. Yeah.
I should probably mention, I mean, that's the whole approach of UJAM UIs. You never get 2 square feet and 200 controls. We try to focus on what people who actually want to write music rather than play an hour with drum miking and engineering, what they would want. And we try to offer everything else a little bit more hidden, like, with multi-outputs.
Yeah, it's about eliminating the barriers and obstacles to that inspiration and getting your songs produced. That's what we're about.
I realize I'm slowly vanishing because it gets dark outside. Let me just bring the light up a little bit.
By the end of the stream, Peter's just gone.
I'm faded into oblivion.
Nice. So let me think. Does that take me on any paths, any of those questions? Let's see. We went through the mix presets, went through the drum kits. There's plenty of presets to go through, but I think there's a 30-day free trial, so you can go through all the sounds you want and really determine how well this will fit into your workflow. But I've been making just because of that line Peter said at the end about how clean and blank canvas it is. They're so clean. The recording is just such high quality that it's hard to not use these for any kind of music, in my opinion. And that's what I love about it the most.
Yeah, and I actually want to point to something that's not overly obvious, except for people who really listen for it, and also probably to all drummers. And that is that the styles sound particularly live, like they, like captured real drum performances, and that is because every individual style has its own individual groove map, like its own deviations, timing deviations of the individual note. And it becomes very obvious when you play a style at its home tempo or even slower, and then go into micro timing and change the this control. I don't know what the control is named. That goes from loose to tight, and change that to loose. Adam, if you try that.
This one, humanize.
Humanize.
Yeah. And I was actually just pointing that out too. You can even see when you drag the phrases out, you could see that the micro timing is in there. These are realistic. These are not quantized notes. Like if they were hard quantized, you would feel that robotic kind of nature. But they're meticulously programmed to be as realistic as they can be. And yeah, so let's do. What did you say? Humanize. Let's pull up a style at an appropriate tempo here.
Yeah.
Let's latch.
That's
it.
a good one.
Yeah, like that drum roll. So with only because I'm not sure how well you can hear me over the drums. Let's play with the micro timing, like Peter said, to adjust. The humanized control gives you a sort of tighter quantization feel that's a little bit more computer sounding, and then the looser is like almost like the sloppier of a human playing it,
Yeah, what it technically does as you drag the control towards tight, it goes from 50% quantization or so. No, it goes from 0% quantization to 100%. And as you move the slider to the left, it goes from 0 quantization to a minus 100%. So it basically exaggerates the deviations.
Yeah, exactly. But 0% is not fully quantized. That's just the style by itself, right? That's how it's programmed. So it is programmed for realism. So 0, when this is at 0, it is very realistic. It is human.
It's how it's supposed to sound like.
Yeah. It's how it's supposed to sound like, but if you get looser, this is sloppier, and if you get tighter, that's a little less natural. Yeah, let's actually hear that now, then I'll latch this phrase. So we'll go towards tight. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put a metronome on, so we can kind of hear both.
And you could go a little bit slower even for that style. You could go like 80 or so.
Okay, yeah, let's go like 95. I don't like too slow.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's just actually... So that's what it'll sound like now. And I realize I'm going to draw in the phrase note just because I'll be playing with the metronome so we can hear how it's adjusting the timing. So,
yeah.
So here is that phrase. Now let's go into micro timing and go towards loose. It's already getting messy.
Yeah. All the way to loose, it never sounds good.
Yeah, it's almost just like, yeah, maybe you want to do that for a creative reason, but a little bit can be tasteful for sure. Like that still sounds like a real drummer to me,
It's what I would actually do if I would play live to it. It's not what you do if you use other virtual instruments, like phrase-based virtual instruments, or quantized tracks. But it's great when you play live to it.
Yeah.
When you're a bass player or guitar.
Yeah, I would kind of view like the neutral position of the slider as like the best take for like a song. And then like as you get this way, this is like maybe live, when you're a little nervous and you get worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's hear what tight sounds like then. Let's go back to the start.
Super precise.
Yeah, super on the metronome now. Which also sounds good in certain styles,
And there's one tip that people who work a lot with DAWs and real audio and stuff probably know. You can actually match other tracks to the groove map of this virtual drummer, like if you want everything to play together really well, because when you drag out the phrases, obviously the deviations are going to be dragged out as well, and then from that you can create it. Depends on your DAW. It lets you create groove map, and then you can just match everything.
Yeah, Yeah, I was gonna say once it's in MIDI, there's a lot more you can do with it. Like
yeah, exactly.
And those timing controls are printed out into the MIDI. So when you drag it out, it'll kind of look at those settings, see what's happening in the engine for real, and then when you drag it out, it shows you that in the MIDI notes. And I think that's actually the way that I use our drummers the most in productions, is actually with the drag and drop. I'll hear phrases that I like as a starting point, drag and drop it. Sometimes I'm lazy and I duplicate and remove the notes to keep it as just a kick instead of doing the individual out, you know?
Well, that's not lazy. That's what it's made for, Adam.
Well, yeah, no, yeah, but I mean, there's different approaches. You know, having individual out is a benefit because you can just route them nice and neatly right off the bat. But the thing that it misses though is the nice master bus we have. So like, so then you're bypassing our reverbs, our coloring, and our maximizer. But I like all that. So when I hear it right out of a preset, I usually like to keep it there, but I'll just duplicate everything and take care of the MIDI because we give.
I do that as well.
Yeah, okay.
I do that as well. It's totally fine to have whatever 7 instances, each one with its different kit and mix and everything.
I've never had like performance issues or anything, so
no,
it's totally good. Yeah, and I guess we could walk through a couple. There are some 5, I think, reverb presets that go into the master bus on top of every mix preset. So every mix preset has its own specially designed reverb. Or ambience for it, but in addition we give you 5 kind of useful and tasteful ones for this style of sound as well. So we could walk through a couple of those real quick just to show you the options. I won't walk through each of the mix preset ones just because you can trust that they're just some nice ambience that match those mix presets. So for now, let's just hear. So let's make sure we have some sends. You have to make sure the reverb is being sent, that each individual channel is going to the reverb, whichever instrument you want to send to the reverb. So let's give a little to the hi-hat. So let's go to Don's delay here. So that one is a delay more than it is a reverb, but it's definitely a cool sound there. Roger's reverb, this one's really fresh. And then like I noticed there that the tom is getting a little too much reverb for my taste, so I'd turn that down. Let's go to Steve's Spring. Nice old spring reverb type of sound. And Ralph's Room. This is a little bit more of a natural room sound, kind of. So it's small. It's a very tight reverberation, but... And then this last one is actually really interesting. It's less of an ambience as it is like a saturation, but it sounds really cool. It's like the super roughening nature, which I really love. Yeah. Those are
I have a few things from the chat, Adam.
Let's go.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm all good. I was just concluding that the reverbs are cool. That's all. So go ahead. Let's hear what the chat has to say.
There was a question like, what can you do with automation? And while I could just answer that with pretty much every parameter on the UI, maybe we can show it, Adam?
Yes, so most of the parameters you can right-click and assign MIDI CC to automate them with MIDI CC. But I'm always forgetting in Ableton how to view the automation list. I know in Logic it's much easier to see that.
Yes, and I'm on Logic, so I wouldn't know it in Ableton as well.
I know that in Ableton, if I'm in automation mode, if I click the parameter, you'll see that change here as what's available to automate. So you get mix presets, you get amount of the mix preset, you get the dust, you get the kit, I believe. Some of these you might have to configure in Ableton. But then any of the levels, the reverb, any of the controls you might want to automate in a production, like to build tension or to relieve tension. We generally open automation to anything that we think the users would benefit from. The styles, that's the one thing we talked about earlier. It'd be cool to automate that, and we just haven't gotten to it because there's some deeper rooted things involved there in the engine. But Definitely
Yeah.
on our list to accomplish eventually.
It's not rocket science. We'll eventually
Yeah,
get there.
yeah, it's not the worst thing, but yeah, as long as there's like some intuitive workaround that's not a hassle to the user, then we leave it that way,
Yeah.
you know. So if you wanted to really automate
And
the styles, change the instances, just have a second track or whatever. I mean, it's not an overbearing plugin in terms of CPU, so.
correct. Then there was a question what the differences are between the virtual drummers and the beatmaker.
Oh yeah.
Beatmakers. And there's a bunch of ways to answer this, but basically, virtual drummers, they should give you the experience of hiring a real drummer, whereas the beatmakers should give you the experience of hiring somebody who makes beats.
Yeah.
So
That's a good way to
real
put it.
drums, drum machines. That's the idea.
Yeah, this is a beat maker, just so you can see. So there are full kits, but you'll notice the kits usually have more sounds than in a drummer, and it's because they're sample based. So usually there's more freedom, like you can kind of pull audio samples in, and yeah, like Peter said, this is kind of like a producer programming a beat rather than a drummer programming or recording drums. So yeah, so the realism.
Yeah. And more often than not, very often I combine the two of them. Sometimes I drag out a groove from Virtual Drummer, and then just double it with the beatmaker. Works really well.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you only do it for the kick drum or the snare, sometimes it's really cool.
That's true. I've done that too. Some of our more produced beat makers, like Candy, the pop one, or Glory, the trappy one. Sometimes I'll steal the kicks from those. Because I produce mostly pop, electronic, and modern stuff. So even though I like the realism of mostly the snares and the cymbals, sometimes you actually need extra beef in the kick to make it really processed. So that's beat makers have their own domain and their different flavors, which are really great, and you can combine them in interesting ways. But yeah, the drummers are basically, you're hiring a drummer for your session. This is the virtual drummer. He's performing for you. The parts you need, the sounds you need. So realism and being a drummer is really the difference.
And then there was a question that Adam, you will feel it as well, rubs the finger in the wound for us a little bit. It's like, when we do push the rest of Virtual Drummer and Virtual Bass to Apple Silicon, well, that's a super fair enough question. We feel the frustration as well. It's just, I don't want to excuse us, but just so you guys know, we have to bring 53 plugins up to Apple Silicon, and it's technically super complex. We have 2 or 3 people, I don't know exactly how many, only on catching up with all the OS updates, plugin format updates. So we're a little bit behind, but
yeah, it's actually like Peter said, the level, the depth of the work is there in terms of workload, and that's the limiting factor. It's not a technical issue. Like, we've solved it. All of our new products are supported. This one is supported. It's on Apple Silicon. It has AAX universal binary. It's got VST3 now. It's got pretty much everything you would need. So as we do new releases, we can guarantee that you'll have the newest support, because we have solved that in our tech stack. So our plugins, we're capable of doing this. It's really just a small team with a lot of work to do. So we feel the pain just as much as you do, and it'll get done very soon. Yeah. Great question though. But yeah, so I think now, Hot and Legend now in the drummers are supported on everything except for the rest of the drummers. Yeah.
Then somebody asked, is there sensitivity for the instruments? I assume you mean velocity control of the instruments. Of course.
Yeah, in the MIDI data you can see, and that's part of the realism that gets printed out. You could see the exact MIDI strokes, the velocity strokes, and you can make them harder or lighter. And that's, if you've ever programmed a realistic part, whether it be piano MIDI or drummer MIDI, you know how important that is, that changing the velocity ever so slightly on a single beat can make it sound real versus fake. So you totally have control over that. And they are sensitive to real-time playing, obviously, too. So if you're not strumming, this isn't a guitar, my bad.
Oh, you can't strum?
I don't know. I guess you probably could in some way. But yeah, velocity is in there, super realistic and tweakable. Yeah. Do we got any other interesting things coming up in there? Chat?
No, I've tried to actually be quite real time. Do we have an intensity slider? Yes, you do. It's the pitch wheel.
Yeah,
that's in
right.
all virtual drummers.
That's right. I forgot about that. So you won't be able to see. I'll just tell you what I'm doing. So right now I'm going to put my pitch wheel all the way down, and then I'll gradually go all the way up. So you'll hear.
Yeah. Does it affect the MIDI too? So now we're really real time here. If you mean the dragged out MIDI, no, I guess not.
Yeah.
But you can do that in your DAW. I mean, you can just, there's always a velocity adjustment parameter, and you can do it there.
Yeah. It is really fun to play with this live, though, with the pitch wheel.
Yeah, actually, when I arrange with a virtual drummer, I actually draw a whole line across the whole song. It makes such a difference when you just vary a little bit everywhere. It really shows.
What do you mean draw a line?
The pitch wheel? Okay. Pitch wheel automation.
Yeah, I see.
But only with the drummers. Doesn't make any sense with the beat makers, but with the drummers, it does.
Yeah, I know. Very cool, though. Let's see. Is there anything we didn't show in the actual plugin? I mean, there's a lot of styles in here. The parts are really interesting. Other than going through presets, we didn't really hear much of these, but I guess I'll just play some in between questions. I imagine we're wrapping up soon if there's not many more questions, but as a reminder, if you are active in the chat, and or asking questions, you will be entered to win a free copy at the end of the stream of Legend.
There's two more that I would like to get to quickly, Adam.
Yeah.
One is the pitch wheel automatable? And Secret, the guy who asked about Apple Silicon before, asks or says, when we are behind, he gets it, but should they be compensated with new plugins? Let me put it this way. We'll take that back to the team. We'll take it seriously. It's a good suggestion, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Yeah. I'm gonna skip through a couple more presets just for fun as an outro, and give another minute or two for people to pop by in the chat and get their chance to be entered in the raffle. Speed up a little here.
That's as unlegend as it gets in this drummer.
I know. Let's go, for the sake of legend, let's go to a more legend category. Yeah.
Adam, you're doing a great demonstration of why we have the phrases.
Just sometimes it's fun, though. You have all this control, Yeah. Piano fingers are hard to translate to drum. But I see what you mean. Yeah, that's why it's hard to...
No, it was just picking at you.
No, I'm kidding.
Just for the sake of it.
Let's see. What's a fun preset that I know about? This one? Oh, I actually really love this one. I think I played it at the beginning. Mom's Basement. Yeah, well, if nothing new came in, I think let's wrap it up today. I just want to reiterate that we released Legend today, so it's brand new. It's on an intro deal, as always. If you own another virtual drummer, it's a little bit cheaper. And there's a free trial for you to try, see if you like it. But in addition to that, we're about to raffle off some names for people who are active in the stream, and some lucky person will win a copy for free today. So let's see. I guess let's do that now. And I'll have to wait a minute because Simon's going to message it to me. Actually, I'll have him message it to you, Peter, just because my screen is all hooked up here. So
okay.
But yeah, so hopefully he heard that. Or maybe you could shoot him a message. He'll basically enter the names who've been in the chat, and then usually he's active on the UJAM account in the chat anyway. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
I'll watch out for it. One last word. So far we've answered questions from this chat, but I don't want to forget to mention there was a lot of praise and love from you guys for us and for this drummer. It's all heard. Thank you. Feels great. Thanks very much.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, and actually one thing I forgot to mention, which is new in this drummer, which I haven't set up myself, but we have MIDI out in this now. Let's see if I remember how to set this up. I know we're at the end of this.
It's funny, right? People have been asking us for so long, and finally we have it, and now we almost take it for granted.
Well, I mean...
You almost forget about it, right?
It was a very hot commodity for the pianists. Which I think is a little more universal. That makes sense. And then once we had that solution in the tech stack, we could do it in our products. So we do have it in this drummer. This is the first drummer that now has direct MIDI out for routing to other tracks. The MIDI. So if you have other drum plugins or even other drummers from us, that's a great use case because the mappings are the same. That's probably the best way to use it. But if you wanted to use an external drum plugin or a stock plugin, it could work. Some of the notes might not be on the exact mappings, but that's part of, universal translation. That's not always perfect. So, but yeah, definitely play with that.
Yeah, we use the general MIDI standard for our drums, which is doesn't get more compatible than that. But of course, yeah.
But yeah, so let's see. Did you get a message from Simon at all, Peter?
No.
Okay.
Simon, where are you?
I would just message him, but I don't want to get all into my work stuff on the live stream. And my phone is my camera right now too, so I'm completely disconnected here. But I will just keep playing with this thing because it's fun. See, this one says high BPM. Let's make it a high BPM. Now we're super high. Here's a fun question, Peter. Which of the 5 kits is your favorite? Remember them?
The first one.
The grand one, yeah.
Just to give a quick answer, the first one. I used the first one the most.
Yeah, so the first one is actually, I remember that was the gold standard, right? That was supposed to be the most universal of this type of sound. Most common, most sought after type of kit. That's what I was told by the designers.
So, Simon just came through.
Okay.
And the winner is one who asked a bunch of questions, actually. It's Felix AM.
Nice.
Congrats,
Felix. You will get a copy of Legend. I think reach out. I think the easiest way is if you reach out to the UJAM account on a social like Instagram. Otherwise, if your username is the same, they will try to find you too. But just try to get in touch with them on something like Instagram or social media, and we'll make sure you get that license.
Yeah, you could just email to support@ujam.com.
That's true. I always forget about that.
Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, well, congrats. I hope you enjoy Legend and you celebrate the release with us today. And I mean, I guess you already did. Thank you for tuning in, everybody, who came to see the instrument and to ask some nice questions about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with that we'll call it a wrap for today. And as always, we will see you with the next release to show you all the new tools we make that we're excited about and hopefully get you excited about them too. Peter, any last words?
Right. No, nothing to add to that. It was fun. Thanks for all your interest in this drummer. Thanks for the praise. Was a premiere for us today. I'm very happy about the great feedback, and see you next time.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all. See ya.